Hey guys, what's happening? This is Devansh and a very warm welcome to all of you to the United Talk. I've got my game jersey on because Tottenham versus Manchester United is just one day away. Premier League is back, and for the first time in months, we'll not be talking about transfers at all. We'll be talking about the match predictions, the predicted lineup of the game, and we'll also be talking about the things that can come in the way of Manchester United winning this game. But before we begin this video, before we begin talking about the predicted lineup, I think let's just spend 30 seconds talking about the Aston Villa versus Sheffield United game because by I don't know what happened in that game, how the hell VAR did not intervene, and for those of you who don't know, the ball was in the back of the net. The ball was in the net of Aston Villa. The ball was beyond the line, and then the watch on the referee's wrist did not buzz, so the referee didn't know it was a goal. It was a technological error right over there. And then the VAR people, they did not intervene at all, and it was a goal. Sheffield United were robbed of a victory. They were robbed of 3 points in that game. It's the first time I've seen something like this happen. It's a shame, really. But you know what? I'm not sad because I'm a United fan. Sheffield United are direct rivals for that Champions League spot, and I think that they're not going to get Champions League anyway. But I mean, it's lucky. I mean, we are lucky that they did not get the win. They are highly unlucky. We are very lucky that they did not get the win because now, with equal games played, they are 1 point behind us. So, you do need such kind of a luck when you go into such tough fixtures and you need to get into Champions League. So, you do need some kind of a luck. But you know what? There's a saying that you create your own luck, you make your own luck, and 99% of the times that's true. So what happens if Aston Villa end up staying up and not get relegated because of this 1 point that they've gained from the last match? Yeah, that's a different story. But otherwise, we need to make our own luck on the Friday night. And let's just get straight into the starting lineup, which will appear on the screen right about now. So the defense almost picks up itself, right? It's David De Gea in goal, Aaron Wan-Bissaka on the right hand side, Luke Shaw on the left hand side, and then a centre back pairing of Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof. I don't think there is any debate in this simply because of the fact that our best wing backs, the best full backs are Wan-Bissaka and Shaw. Brendan Williams actually could also be preferred because of his pace and everything, but I think you do need some kind of an experience going into this game, which Luke Shaw does have, and Luke Shaw will also have a point to prove against Mourinho. So I think he was number one before the lockdown happened for Manchester United in that position. So I think Luke Shaw does get a nod ahead of Brendan Williams. But here's the conundrum, and a lot of you would actually prefer a 4-4-2 kind of a position or kind of a formation, wherein the four in the midfield could be a diamond sort of a thing. Wherein, I mean, to put it in perspective, it could be a 4-1-2-1-2 kind of a formation, wherein there's a diamond in the midfield, and it's a possibility that that Solskjaer might choose that kind of a lineup, and if that happens, you will see Bruno Fernandes playing as a false number 9. And if you remember, we played that formation against Everton and where we drew 1-1. I mean, we could have won that game, but there was a mistake, or we could have drawn that game 0-0. Uh, but there was a mistake from both the goalkeepers, more so from De Gea than from Pickford. But yeah, we could have won that game as well. But yeah, I mean, that's not the formation I would prefer, simply because of the fact that that formation is defensive for me and it doesn't give you any width. I mean, in reality, when Tottenham will have the ball, the three midfielders out of four will actually sit in front of the back four. And then with that being said, it's going to be a Bruno Fernandes roaming alone near the centre circle, and it's going to be Marcus Rashford helping out Luke Shaw on the left, and Anthony Martial trying to help out maybe a Wan-Bissaka on the right. I mean, it's going to be like that. It's going to be defensive. So I'm not a fan of a diamond kind of a formation. But for me in the midfield, it's going to be a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-1-3, whatever you want to call it, or a 4-2-3-1, whatever you're going to call it. It's going to be the same because you end up playing three midfielders. Now here's the dilemma. I mean, Bruno Fernandes is an automatic starter. There's no doubt about that. He's going to play in that number 10 role. But who are going to be the other two midfielders? Because Nemanja Matic, Scott McTominay, Paul Pogba, and Fred, all of them deserve to start. I mean, Paul Pogba has been injured for throughout the season basically, and he doesn't deserve to start because Fred and Matic and McTominay have carried us throughout the season in his absence, and they have done well in the since 2020, January of 2020. McTominay, Matic, and Fred have actually done really well. So hence, people might argue that Paul Pogba should not directly get into the lineup, but in his defense, he is the best player Manchester United have right now. I mean, you can have an argument that maybe Bruno Fernandes is the best player, but on his day, Paul Pogba is world class. He's devastating. So there's a case to be had over there. And plus, like I said about Luke Shaw, Paul Pogba also has a thing or two to prove against Jose Mourinho. So it's a big question mark as to who should start in that midfield along with Bruno Fernandes. I have gone ahead with Fred and Paul Pogba. A lot of you might just prefer Fred with Matic or even Fred with McTominay or a Pogba with McTominay. And you know what? None of those will be wrong. I mean, it's simply a case of five midfielders who are very good, who are playing really well, or maybe four midfielders because Bruno Fernandes is a starter for all of us. Out of the remaining four, all of them deserve to start. All of them can start and can do a job for Manchester United. It's just about who Ole Gunnar Solskjaer picks. So for me, it's going to be Fred and Paul Pogba. I've gone for Fred instead of Matic because I feel while Matic has the physical presence, he's tall, he's strong, and that's what you need against Jose Mourinho sides, and he's more defensive minded. I think Fred has actually developed into a very good player this season, and he's played really well in that position. And he's a tenacious player. He can go and win the ball. So that's why I've gone for Fred. And plus, his mobility is a big plus for us as well. I mean, and you can argue that Scott McTominay also does similar kind of a thing. Scott McTominay is tall, he's strong, he's a threat in the air, he's tenacious as well, he's defensive, his work rate is good. So McTominay could also be one of the options, but for me it's going to be Fred because of the things that he was doing before we got into lockdown. So Fred with Pogba, with Bruno Fernandes playing as a number 10. And again, the front three picks themselves, it's going to be a Rashford, Martial and Daniel James. Now I've gone with a Daniel James instead of a Mason Greenwood because I feel Greenwood could come on and just impact from the bench. And I mean, there could be a scenario where Anthony Martial could be injured or Marcus Rashford could be injured because these players have a tendency. I mean, Martial has a tendency to get injured pretty quickly, but Rashford is coming back from a very serious injury as well. So I mean, there's a tendency for there could be a tendency for one of these players to get injured. So you do need backup from the bench, which is going to be Igalo or Greenwood. But I would prefer Daniel James because of his work rate, because of the addition that he'll give you while defending. Because I think he is going to help out Van Bissaka on the right hand side. So that's the reason why I've preferred a Daniel James over Mason Greenwood. Sorry. Uh, what about the prediction of the game? I mean, what about the predicted score of the game? Before I tell you my prediction regarding the scoreline, I just want to talk about three things that I feel might come in the way of Manchester United winning this game. Uh, Manchester United do need to win this game. We are 3 points behind Chelsea, and Sheffield United are 1 point behind us. If we win against Tottenham, they are out of the Champions League race. And then the next game we have is against Sheffield United, who, by the looks of it, if we can defeat them, they are out of the Champions League race because then they'll be 4 points behind us, which is amazing. So then you have, I mean, they're not out of the Champions League race; they can still theoretically get it. But you know what? If you draw against Aston Villa, then you have another game on a weekend, and then again you play. I mean, you play 3 games in 6 or 7 days time, out of which you draw one, you lose one, and maybe you win one. I don't know. It does affect your momentum, and they do have injuries. They don't have a big squad. It's difficult because early in the season they were playing maybe one game a week, so it was easier for them. Now it's difficult because now they'll be playing much more games every week. So a game every 2 days or every 3 days. So it's going to be difficult, and I feel they won't be able to keep up the momentum that they had before the lockdown. But if you put it into perspective, I mean, Tottenham, if you defeat Tottenham, they are out. If you defeat Sheffield United, there's a big possibility that they are out as well. And then Arsenal is already out. So you have teams like Chelsea, Leicester, and United fighting for the top two, the third and the fourth position. And then Chelsea has very tough games. They have game against Man City. They have game against Liverpool. So it is tough. And then Sheffield United has to play Tottenham as well. So we have to play Leicester. I mean, I think it's a must-win game for Man United. It's not going to be like if we don't win this game, we don't qualify for Champions League. It's not that, but it gets very difficult if you draw this game or if you lose this game. Especially if you lose this game, it gets very difficult for you to then qualify for Champions League, I feel. So it's a must-win game. The three things that I was talking about that can come in our way of not winning the game could be A, the rustiness of the players, and the players, no matter if someone was injured or not before the lockdown, All of the players have not played professional football since 3 months now. It's been 100 days. So the rustiness of the players is going to be there. They're going to be rusty. And if United and Tottenham kind of feel each other out in the first 30 minutes or so, you're going to see a very boring, dull first half. And knowing Jose Mourinho, knowing the kind of teams he puts out, the football that he plays, it's anyways going to be a defensive formation from his side. Which brings me to the second point. I mean, you don't know what you're going to get with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And to be honest with you, I am 100% behind Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I back him completely. He has done some really good things at Manchester United. He's gotten rid of the deadwood. There's some still there, but he's on the right track. He's promoted youth. He's bought proper footballers in Bruno Fernandes, Harry Maguire, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Daniel James. I mean, he has made good signings. The dressing room looks like the dressing room is now much happier. There's a much cohesive unit. And before the lockdown happened, they were on a streak of 11 unbeaten games, 9 of them which they won. So, I mean, they're on a good run and we are doing some good things. And it looks like after addition of 3 or 4 more players in the transfer window, we could be serious title contenders. But let's not talk about that right now. What I'm trying to say, with all this positivity around Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he is still a very naive manager, and I've said that before as well. He is technically naive. He is very raw. He is young. He's a young manager, and the problem with that is basically he's playing away Tottenham. Now away because without the fans doesn't make much of a difference, but he's still playing Tottenham, and this is a must not lose game for both the sides. It's a must win game for United and Tottenham if they want to qualify for Champions League, but it's also a must not lose game for both of the sides. And add to that, Jose Mourinho is playing against his successor at Old Trafford. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is playing against a manager who does not respect him, and there have been some moans and groans about the things that Jose Mourinho has actually. You never know what has happened, but then theoretically he's come out and said about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer a few things that he's out of his depth as a manager at Manchester United. So it's gonna be mind games. Mind games have already begun. It's gonna be. Some players are going to look forward to play against the Jose Mourinho side, like Luke Shaw, like Paul Pogba, even Anthony Martial to an extent. Uh, it's going to be a fascinating game, but in this game, my second point was that if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer picks up a defensive unit, a defensive side with 3 at the back maybe, or even a midfield diamond, then you might see both teams trying to defend, trying not to concede any goal, and it just might end up becoming a nil-nil game or even a 1-1 game. And that's the reason why I feel, I mean, it could be a problem for Manchester United if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does pick up a very defensive side. And the third one could be the new rules that Premier League has put up for this remaining 9 fixtures. Now, don't get me wrong, I am 100% in agreement with all the rules. But what happens is, and if you look at the Aston Villa Sheffield United game or the Arsenal City game, what happens is that, I mean, Arsenal started the game against City really well, I felt, and there's a break after every 22 minutes. So there's a break after 22 minutes for a minute. You have a drink, I mean water, and then you play for another 20 minutes or so. Then you have a half time, and the same thing happens in the second half. What this does is basically breaks your momentum. So if a team is dominating in the first 20 minutes, and then there's a break of a minute or so, and then you go back to play again, that momentum might be lost because of that break. I know it's just a 1 minute break, but it does happen. I've seen that happen. Aston Villa started really well, but after the 23rd minute point, after the break, they were not able to continue with their momentum, and Sheffield United got back into the game somewhat. Same thing happened with Arsenal and City as well. I think Arsenal started well, and then after the break, City found their form. And I'm not saying City wouldn't have found their form anyway, but my point is that these breaks kind of interrupt your momentum. They interrupt things, and to add to that, you have 5 substitutes. I mean, there are 3 times that you can substitute players. That's fair, but then they're changing half of the team, and there are 5 substitutes. So I mean, 10 new people on the pitch could mean very different lineups at the end of the game versus what it was in the beginning. And plus the injuries that can come along. I mean, there were 3 injuries in the City Arsenal game, right? There were about two injuries as well in the Sheffield United Aston Villa game. So injuries, breaks, substitutions can all take up time, and it can all lead to losing momentum. So, and both the sides, I mean, Jose Mourinho's side, if you look at the team that they have, it's a perfect Jose Mourinho team according to me. I'm not saying that he's in love with the team and he would not want some serious players to come into the club if given funds. But if you look at their target man, Harry Kane, he's a target man, he's a centre forward, and Jose Mourinho would love to have someone like a Harry Kane up front. The wingers, Yoon Min Son, Lucas Moura, fast, pacey, They can score goals. They can defeat players one on one. Trickery. They have everything. Yoon Son for me is world class anyway. So you have the perfect wingers to support Harry Kane. If Harry Kane can jump, get the ball, wingers can support the runs. And then you have a midfield. You have the midfield which has Musa Sissoko, Lo Celso, Ndombele, Eric Dyer. I mean, these players are all tall, strong players. Exactly, exactly the players that Jose Mourinho likes and wants. I'm not saying that he wants all these players, but these are the type of players that Jose Mourinho wants. We all knew how much he was in love with Fellaini. We all knew why he preferred Scott McTominay over Fred. So I mean, and Matic as well, because he likes that kind of a player who's tall, who's strong, and that's what Tottenham team are. And then you look at the defense. I know it's an aging squad. It's a defense which is aging, which is old now. But you have Alderweireld, Vertonghen, Davinson Sanchez, Aurier, Ben Davis, and you have defenders who are also tall and strong, and they are old, but they are experienced. I mean, they're not coming up against a side like Manchester United for the first time in their lives, right? I mean, in their career. So these players have the experience to play against teams like Manchester United before, because they've been around a lot of times. They're all national players playing for the national team. So it's an experienced squad. It's a tall and a strong squad. Uh, Along with pacey wingers. That's exactly what Jose Mourinho wants, and that's how he plays. He plays counter-attacking football with such kind of a squad. So if he starts playing counter-attacking football, if he sets up Tottenham to play counter-attacking football, and then Ole Gunnar Solskjaer also sets up a defensive team, you're going to see a very boring game. I don't have any high hopes of this game anyway. And trust me on this, if we get a 1-0 win, if we play the crappiest football of the last decade that we could ever have, and we get a 1-0 win, I'll be very happy, because for me right now, because of the situation, because of the lockdown, because of the rustiness of the players, all it matters right now is to win the game. And this is a big game. Tottenham is a big game. I mean, we have three big games in the last 9: Tottenham, Sheffield United, and Leicester City. If we can get points of these teams, if we can win these games, I think our top four more or less is sorted. So, and that's where I feel the number 3 point, because of the rules, regulations, because of the team that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer picks, it might depend all on that. Because the reason I've picked Paul Pogba is because I want Manchester United to actually go ahead and attack Tottenham Hotspur. Because on counter attack, I know we would be susceptible with just Fred being there, but I mean, you need to trust the Man United defense. You need to trust Van Bissaka, Maguire, Lindelof, Shaw. You need to trust Fred. You need to trust somebody, right? And you need to go and attack. I mean, the luck favors the brave. We talked about luck in our show before. The luck prefers the brave. It supports the brave. So the reason I pick Bruno Fernandes and Paul Pogba together is because I want United to attack and take the game to Tottenham, which is what they will expect and want anyway. But that's what we need to do. If we do that, and if we get a goal or two in the first half, then you can just bring on Matic, McTominay, whoever it is, and just shut stop. And you can just start playing defensive football and be done with the game, because with substitutions, breaks, it's going to be a slow game anyway in the second half, and players will be tired. It's the first game after lockdown, so you need to attack in the first half. You need to gain some momentum in the first half, and you need to score a goal or two in the first half itself, because if you score a goal or two, you automatically then invite Tottenham to attack you. And in that case, you can then soak up the pressure and then hit them on the counter attack. And with their aging backline, if you score a goal first, and then if they start playing football and we need to attack them on counter attack, we can do that, because their players, they are experienced but they're not fast enough. So that's a problem. I mean, any player in the world would be scared at the prospect of an Anthony Martial, Daniel James, and Marcus Rashford running at them at full speed. These are fast players who can run at them at full speed. So it's going to be interesting how Ole Gunnar Solskjaer picks his side. It's going to be interesting how Jose Mourinho picks his side. It's going to be a battle between the two managers who don't really like each other. Let me just say that out loud, because why would you like your successor at a club where you were sacked? And why would you like a manager who doesn't respect you? So it's going to be an interesting battle. My prediction for this game, because of the reasons I mentioned, is a 1-1, a draw. It could be a 0-0 draw. It could be a 2-2 draw. I don't know. But I have a feeling it's going to be a draw. It's going to be a 1-1 draw. I don't think we are going to lose this game, because I think we have enough good players to not lose. We have actually enough good players to win this game. But I'm just looking at Jose Mourinho. He has a point to prove, and he's had a lot of time to prepare for this game. Jose Mourinho in the last 2 months would be sitting and thinking, as soon as Premier League is back, I'm going to play Manchester United at my home at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I cannot lose against Manchester United because he lost against us last year. I mean, last year, by last year I mean when Tottenham visited United at Old Trafford. So Jose Mourinho would have sat there thinking, how can I make sure I do not lose against Man United and maybe even try to win. So I think that's the reason why I feel it's gonna be a draw. But hey, I want United to win. I'm looking forward to the game. I'm a little nervous. I'm excited. I'm happy. I just want United to qualify for top four. I think it's gonna happen. It's a big chance it's gonna happen. But United need to be brave and play the best football that they have played in the past 2 years or so. Let's see what's gonna happen. Do let me know what do you think of the video. Do let me know what do you think of the starting lineup. Actually, who do you think should start? What should be the formation? Who should be on the bench? Let's just hope we win the game and it's a good Saturday morning for all of us. So till then, guys, take care.